Hi, I'm Mariah from Missouri River Regional Library, and today for our DIY homesteading, I'm going to try some different experiments with waterproof and stormproof matches. So this will be a first time experience for me in many ways. For one thing, everything I'm going to try, I have not tried before. It'll be brand new right here with you while I'm doing it. The second thing that's brand new is usually I do my videos where they're silent and you just see my hands moving and I type out what I'm doing for instructions. So this will be a new way of me trying to video it. My co-host with the Missouri River Regional Library DIY projects, Angie Bain, she always does her videos like this and she loves doing them this way. So I thought I would give it a try today. So here we go. We have several different ways. I'm going to start with the ones that are waterproof matches. These are the absolute easiest to do. So you want to start with strike anywhere matches. They are different than the regular matches you might buy. They will usually say strike on the box matches. The different people that I researched said you want to get these strike anywhere matches. This box was only about $2 at a hardware store nearby, so they weren't hard to find. And you could certainly try these projects with the regular matches too and see if they work. Sorry about the dogs. We have a lot of dogs in my house. I didn't think about that when I decided to do this live. So, all right. So we're going to take these strike anywhere matches. And the very first thing I want to do is I'm going to strike one to get this candle melting because we're going to need it later on. All right. A couple of them going. We're going to be using the wax from these to make some of the matches. All right, so put this here for now. Okay, so we'll get these going, get these melty over here, and then I'm going to show you the very first one. This was an interesting one, and it's absolutely the definite easiest one to do. The first one that they say will waterproof your matches is putting nail polish on it. When I was doing research on it, they said the most difficult part about this method is choosing your color because you want your color to go with your waterproofed event, right? So actually, the only thing you want to avoid is using a nail polish that has glitter in it because it can make it flame uneven. It can kind of burst or spark. So one thing they suggested is having a bit of tape wherever you're going to dry your matches. And let it, you feel drip. Doesn't look like it's going to drip. I'm going to tape this so that the sticky side is up on my paper and let my match rest on there. Like that. So that it can dry. And I'm going to do a couple of these. Okay. Just going to drip any. And lay it down the edge of the table. If it drips, nope. So far no dripping. It seems to be clinging really well. And with the tape and the paper, I'm not getting any stuck on my table. My table is still clean, so that's good. One of the reasons they say to do it like this is so that both sides of the match can dry. If I were to lay them on wax paper, only one side would dry well. The other side would be sticky or tacky, or the nail polish might come off altogether. Okay, so I'm going to move these down out of our way and let them continue to dry while we move on to the second. The second type of stormproof matches were almost as simple. They were match heads that were coated in wax. That makes sense. Lots of things over time have been coated in wax to keep them dry, and that'll be easy to get through when you want to light them. So that makes sense. I'm going to put these over here too on my sticky tape. Now the thing with the coating them in wax is, first of all, you don't want to accidentally light it. It would probably be better if I'd blown out the candle and just used the hot wax. But I didn't have very much wax built up yet. The other thing with the wax is they suggest dipping it a couple times to give it a really good coating. And that means drying it in between every time, which would take a little bit longer to do. But I can say this certainly is easy. Okay. I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to let these dry. I might even let my candles keep going. Move them out of the way. There we go. So that maybe if I want to go ahead and coat them another time, I can. All right. So there was a third way that I had read about that you could try to waterproof your matches, and that was by soaking them in turpentine. I didn't have any turpentine, and I didn't want to buy a huge can of it just for this because you needed a tiny amount. Like, you just fill a littlest bit in a bowl, you could drop your matches in, and then once they dry, they are waterproof but will still light anywhere. But turpentine is not really useful, or at least I don't really have any other use for it. So I didn't go out and buy that one, but I thought I'd go ahead and mention it. Okay, so while those are drying, let's go ahead and move to our storm proof. So these are like a little bit heftier. These are simply waterproof. They get wet. It shouldn't matter. The outside should be fine because you're going to scrape it a little bit to get it to light. Storm-proof matches are supposed to be even heftier, work even better, have more to them. So I think I'm going to cut this to just the size I want it. We're going to try two different kinds of storm-proof matches. So this is just a regular paper towel, and I'm just cutting off a bit about match size. Okay, so for this one, we're going to take some matches, and you start by laying them on here where the head of the match sticks out above the paper towel. And I'm going to roll it a little bit. Roll it once. Add another match. Roll it again. Add another match. Roll it one more time. Add another match. All right. Roll it up a bit so they're swaddled in this paper towel. I'm going to simply tear it off when I'm done. Okay. So we've got these matches all wrapped up together. Then you take some string. Some thread. And we're going to take this thread and I'm going to hold it down with my thumb. Like so. Now I've pinched it against the paper towel. And I'm going to wrap it, kind of pulling it through the heads of the matches a couple times. Just to kind of get it stuck there. So it's nice and stuck there. This string isn't going to pull away. I could let go of it with my thumb now because it's going to hold in place. Then I'm going to start wrapping it around the whole deal. All the way. Alright, I'm going to leave a little bit. Okay. My puppy's trying to scratch through the floor. I'm leaving a little bit so I can kind of tie it off at the end so it won't come unwrapped that way. Like a knot. Alright, you've got something like that. I'm going to dangle it from my thread. Okay. Now that one, It's a little bit more difficult because what we need now is something to really have a large amount of wax for. I'm going to stop for a minute and go back to my waterproof matches because I'm going to go ahead and double dip these that were coated with wax one time. One. Two. I almost got my thumb in the flame. Be careful, don't do that. I can see the nail polish ones are still drying. And 4. Okay, those have a double coating of wax on them now. Move them back over here, and they can dry some more. Last time when I moved it around, I got a little bit of the nail polish on my table. That was my own fault for moving it back and forth. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is get this thing nice and coated with wax too now. And I'm not sure of the best way to do that. In the videos that I watched when I was researching different people, what they suggest doing is taking a candle. It can be a used candle, a broken candle, or it could just be a candle you bought for this purpose, and breaking it up and melting it in a double boiler. You don't ever want your candle to suddenly burst into flame on you. That would be very dangerous. So I guess the double boiler is just like when you use it for chocolate or anything else that can burn really easily. A double boiler is nice because it keeps the temperature low. It melts things using a very low temperature, keeping it in good condition. So we might have enough wax for me to do one of these though, without having to mess with the double boiler. So, but that is what I had this for in case we wanted to try that. So I'm going to put that in here. No, I'm not. I'm going to use that later for our next one. I'm going to put that just right on here, I think. On my paper towel. And I'm going to pour my wax over it. So the best thing here, this works because as I'm pouring it, the flame is going up and it is really making my wax go faster and faster, giving me lots of wax to saturate this. I think the double boiler method and having a pool of wax to simply dangle this into would probably be the safest method. But this is certainly easier for me. And easier if you don't want to mess with the double boiler. Alright. So now, this is very saturated with wax. I've coated every side of it. I'll let my candle just went out. I'm going to set it over here with the other experiments to dry. Move that to the side. Kind of wrap this up. Good. None of the wax went through to the table. That's good. All right. So that leaves my last one to make before we start trying some of these out. The last one, I've gone through all of these in the order of, like, in my mind, most convenient, easiest, fastest way to least convenient, heftiest, most time-consuming way to go. This one, what you're going to do is you're going to take the heads of about 15 of these Strike Anywhere matches. And you're going to cut them off, or you could use pliers, just something to break them off and get them into a place where you can crush them. So that could be, like, I got my mortar and pestle out to do this with, but you could use just a little glass bowl like this one that I have right here. That would work too. And you could use anything that you can crush with. You could use a bottle with a heavy lid that you turn upside down, or you could use I guess you could use like a hammer or something like that, where you just grind with it rather than hammer with it. So really anything that will let you crush. We're going to get this. I'm just kind of scraping off the match head. At first I started to try to cut it. Whoops, there went one flying. I was trying to cut them, but that left some of the wood in there, and we don't really want the match wood, just the match head. Alright, getting closer. Now this one calls for you to have some sticks, and again, it just depends on how much you want to do, and what you're going to use these for. Like, are you planning to use your stormproof matches on a camping trip and you just want to have them with you in case you're in a storm? Or is this more on the way of like survivalist gear and you want to have them on you in the house in a case of an emergency? It's, whatever you want to do. If this is more of a low-key, I'm trying this out because it's fun, or look, I really seriously want these to work, I need to know, in which case I definitely urge you to test them. Alright, 2 more, and then I'm going to be done with this part. Scrape, scrape, scrape. And again. And again. Okay, done with that part. Since I have a mortar and pestle, I can just use this to grind down the match heads. I still managed to get a little bit of wood in there, so I'm going to pick that out. But mostly that worked well. It might work better with pliers. You might have less wood come off. But just pick out the wood. That was pretty easy. So we're going to get it nice and ground down to a fine powder, which has only taken me a few seconds. So there, you see the powder? It's very, very fine. Okay, then we're going to add a tiny bit of water, because we're going to turn it into a paste. Alright, I'm going to use one of my sticks here to mix it up. Yeah, I'm going to add a few more match heads because I think I made it too watery. It really, really, really should be a tiny bit of water. If it's watery, then it won't stick for the next part. So it needs to be more pasty. So that you need to have a higher ratio of powder to water for that to work right. Okay, after this one, I'm going to try grinding again. Closer. Oh. Well, at this point, it may just be easier to start over. I'm going to start over. You see how liquidy that is? I don't think it will ever stick. Though I could save it and see if it thickened up some. Alright, let's start over with this one. Alright. First get our match heads on here. I'm going to send them flying. Okay, so if it goes wrong for you, that's a tip right there. If you mess up and you have to start over, don't get exasperated. because then your match heads will go flying and you've just lost them. I don't even know where they went. Oh, one's back here. There we go. Definitely the most reckless part of this. You'd think it'd be the playing with fire part. I say that, though of course I haven't tried lighting any of these yet. Alright. So if any of you try this, feel free to give me comments. I would love to hear how it worked out for you. And also if you came up with better ways of doing this, like better ways of removing the match heads. Behind me. Some of them come off so simple. And I think I've got the technique down, and then the next one goes flying away. Matches. Alright. You could also tell me if you try them out like I did, like which ones work the best for you, what kind of circumstances you use them in, if you went camping, if there was a storm. Not much of a camper myself, but I did think this sounded like a neat thing, especially with the idea of getting to test different kinds. Alright, we're getting close. Just a few more, and then I'm going to try adding like a minuscule amount of water this time. That one went out. And we have all these sticks left over. Now if we have anything I can do with the sticks. Okay. Yeah, this is still pretty watery. Too watery to be useful, I think. Oh, wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we're going to grind it up. Grind these into a powder. Okay. This is almost pasty as it is. Actually, this is very pasty. This was just the water that was left in there. As you can see, it's coating this matchstick, the pieces I ground up, and this is actually just about perfect. I'm not going to add any water. I'm just going to try to get this to be more even on here. So what we're basically doing is instead of just one match head, you're getting a nice thick coating of match heads on something. That. And then it'll need to dry. I'm going to press this down, kind of pat it into place. Now, this has taken up a lot of my match heads. I was going to show you two different ways to do it, but now that I've done this, it's used up almost all of the powder paste I already had. And I don't want to make you sit there and watch me grind up more. Well, actually, the grinding's pretty quick. I don't want to sit there and make you sit there and watch me cut the heads off more. Here I have a well-coated matchstick. Now, something else you could do, and I'm going to lay it here, over here to dry, is you could just take a stick. If you wanted something longer, because these matches aren't very long, and you're putting a lot of match heads on there and you want it to burn for a long time, you could take a stick, just a stick from your yard or something, and you could coat it with your paste. I don't have enough paste left to do a second one, and I don't want to make you sit there while I make more paste. But that is certainly an idea too. Okay. Now with this one, once you've got it coated, once you have made your matchstick top, put a little bit on there, all you have to do is let that one dry. That is where all the preparation ends. Okay, so some of the first ones, let's test them out. This may be too quick, so if you try this at home, if we have a failed experiment here, I wouldn't say just forget about it, this obviously didn't work. I wouldn't say that. Instead, what I would say is give it longer. I want to go ahead and test these with you and see if they work, because I'm very curious. Move some of this other stuff out of the way so you have a clear view. All those matchsticks. Okay, here we go. So, let's try the nail polish one first. The one we made first. So with the nail polish one, yep, it's dry. It's not sticking to my fingers. It's a pretty pink. What they say to do is, supposedly it can get wet. And we've been in a storm and it's wet. So, or you may not have a paper towel with you. Let's say it got wet. All you have is your hand to try to dry it. Okay, it got wet in the storm. I've dipped it in the water twice. They say scrape with your fingernail a little bit of the nail polish off. All right, and then let's give it a shot. And we got it. So there it was, dipped in water. And then we scraped off the nail polish and it worked. All right, so I'd call that one a success. Here's our wax coated one. Got wet. Here it is. All right, I don't have a paper towel with me on my hypothetical journey. So I'm going to scrape a bit of the wax. Just use my hand to dry it off because I'll have my hands with me wherever I am. Oh, I broke my match. But it still worked. All right. So I'd say that's a success. Okay. All right. Here's our stormproof one. All right. This one was one of the ones I actually thought was the most interesting. Now, all right. So you're on your camping trip. You're having fun, but you get in a storm. Your pack gets wet. Everything is soaked. All right. Oh my gosh. Your matches are soaked. What will you do? Again, we don't have any paper towels with us. Maybe our paper towels got soaked too. All you have is your hands. All right. My hands are all wet. Now, let's see. I can't actually remember. I think you're supposed to use this still. Yeah. Oh, we were close. Well, oh, there we go. I was about to call that a failure. Okay, so it's burning. Got a nice big, yep, okay. It's catching some of that wax. Right. Now let's see what happens if it gets wet. No, it goes out. Okay. In the research I did, they showed it kind of flaring back up to life, so I thought it might. So, waterproof. I don't know that I'd call it stormproof, because if any rain were to get on it, it looks like it'd go right back out. And it looks like it's not going to light again for me. All right, but if it hadn't, if we had not got it wet again, I think it would have been a good waterproof match. Nice and sturdily wrapped, and I think it would have lasted a lot longer. Because this wax would have acted like a torch. The wax in the paper towel that's wrapped underneath there. So if I hadn't tried dipping it back down to see what would happen, unlike these matches, well, let me show you again. Try one of my nail polish ones again. Okay. Wet. Scrape. Now there's wax all over my box. All right, I don't think I'd call that this one's fault. I think I need to get the wax off my box. Well, that one's broken, so let's try it again. All right. Oh yeah, wet first. Dry some with my hand. Scrape just the nail polish off, not the match head, because it's just a coating. It's like something to protect it in, you know, like it was a traveling case of its own little thing there. Yeah, the matchbox is all waxy. All right, so here's the thing. This is just a regular match, and it's not going to burn very long before it reaches my fingers, and I'm going to have to put it out. So I can use it like a regular match. You know, I can use it to light something else on fire, but it won't last any longer than a regular match will. So this one, had I not dipped it back in the water, I think this would have burnt really well for a while. And if you wanted to, you could have a longer core, I think, something you could hold on to. Let's say we started with a stick, wrapped those matches around it, along with the paper towel and the string. You know, you could really hold it down here at the bottom, almost like a little mini torch. But while I would call this a success at waterproof matches, I would not call it a success at stormproof matches. And that leaves our last one, and that is this, the one that's covered in paste. Unfortunately, we can't try that one today because we just really need to let that paste dry a while longer. So if you try this at home, I would love to hear your results. And if you want to come back and check on the library website after I've let this dry, then probably tonight later, I will try this and I will come back to our post. I'll leave an update on how that turned out. So those are the ones I wanted to try today. Thanks for joining me. It was pretty fun. I will tell you to always be careful with matches and candles and flame. Of course, I know you know that, but I would not be happy with myself if anybody got hurt. So always be careful. Keep some way to extinguish the fire on hand, and have a great day. I hope you get to try this. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you later.